The sun, a molten eye suspended in the infinite cerulean canvas of the Cimarron territory sky, bore down with unblinking, relentless intensity. Dust, ground to an almost ethereal fineness by millennia of wind and drought, coated everything in a pale shroud. It clung stubbornly to the sparse, tenacious blades of grama grass piercing the baked earth, filmed the rough-hewn planks of the three cabins huddled together as Redemption Creek, and thickened the very air drawn into lungs. This was a land of stark, demanding beauty, horizons stretching into forever, whispering promises of untamed freedom but demanding unwavering, brutal resilience in return. Redemption Creek wasn't a town. It was a stubborn assertion against the immensity. Miles of harsh, unforgiving terrain separating its handful of souls from the nearest flyspeck settlement, leagues more from the imposing stone ramparts and illusory protection of Fort Union. Life here wasn't measured in the gentle turning of days, but in the harsh cycles of seasons, precious inches of rainfall, and the relentless, sweat-soaked rhythm of hard labor under that unforgiving sky. Inside the largest cabin, the communal heart of this fragile outpost, 7-year-old Emily sat at the sturdy pine table her father, Thomas, had fashioned with calloused, loving hands. Smooth, cool pebbles gathered meticulously from the creek bed were arranged before her in intricate patterns only her burgeoning imagination could decipher. The air hummed with the familiar symphony of home, the faint, lingering scent of wood smoke curling from the stone hearth, the earthy yeastiness of bread dough rising patiently beneath a damp cloth, and the sharp tang of lye soap clinging to her mother's apron. Martha moved with the quiet, practiced efficiency forged by necessity, her hands, chapped but capable, shaping loaves. A low hum vibrated almost unconsciously in her chest, a wordless melody as grounding to Emily as the creak of the floorboards beneath her bare feet. Martha's eyes, the same startling blue as her daughter's, held a weariness etched deep like canyons on a map, yet they shone with a steady light of fierce determination. This life, stripped bare, was undeniably hard, but it was theirs, almost ready. "Little bird," Martha asked softly, glancing over, her smile crinkling her eyes. "Patience. Now, good things take time." Thomas sat near the open doorway, light glinting off the long, polished barrel of his rifle as he cleaned it with meticulous care. The rhythmic click and soft scrape of oiled cloth against steel was a backdrop to their lives, a mundane yet potent reminder of the precariousness holding their small world together. He was broad-shouldered, his face leathered by sun and wind, his hands bearing the ingrained map of his labor, felling timber, breaking sod, raising their home board by painful board. He held a fierce, almost spiritual belief in this land's promise, though he never underestimated its inherent dangers. His gaze drifted to Emily, a brief softening around his eyes, a fleeting smile touching his stern face, a quiet word exchanged with Martha. "Flowers holding out, or sky looks heavy tonight." Martha spoke volumes of their unspoken affections, the load-bearing partnership anchoring their lives. He taught Emily of stars, weather signs, and quiet courage. "Courage isn't about not being afraid, Em," he'd told her once, kneeling beside her during a rattling thunderstorm. "Everyone feels fear. Even the biggest bear. Courage is feeling it deep, rattling your teeth, and doing what needs doing anyway. You remember that?" He'd tapped her chest gently. "It lives in here." Outside, the sharp thwack of an axe signaled Jacob, Emily's 12-year-old brother, attacking a cottonwood log with the furious energy of youth straining against limitations, desperate to prove his readiness for manhood. A whirlwind of lanky limbs, perpetually caught between boy and man. Sometimes, magnanimous, he'd let Emily help. guiding her smaller hands on the heavy handle for one supervised swing, his grip firm over hers. Easy now. M. Let the axe do the work. Feel the balance. Other times, frustrated, he'd chase her away impatiently. Go on. Get. Can't you see I'm busy? Serious work. Their squabbles were fleeting summer storms, overshadowed by the immense reality of their isolated existence. He was protector and tormentor, competitor, and her vital, often exasperating link to adventures beyond the cabin walls. Race you to the creek, M, he'd shout, dust kicking up, forcing her small legs to pump, her breathless laughter chasing his retreating back. Their closest neighbors were the Millers, 50 yards downstream, and the stoic widow Douglas, slightly further up. Survival here was a communal verb, shared resources, potatoes for mended tools, pooled labor during harvests. Small victories, a successful hunt, a healthy calf, a rare bumper crop, celebrated with simple feasts under the vast sky and heartfelt gratitude. Setbacks, flash floods, sudden fever, mourned and overcome collectively. News arrived sporadically via travelers or supply wagons, whispers of unrest, escalating skirmishes, Comanche movements north, Apache raids south. Sometimes, hushed talk of Navajo displeasure filtered up from below the mesas, unsettling murmurs from afar, potent reminders of simmering tensions. Thomas maintained cautious neutrality, born of pragmatism and respect for those who walked this land before. He'd traded peacefully with small Navajo bands, cornmeal for intricate blankets or dried venison. They knew this land long before us. He'd stated firmly to a nervous Mr. Miller, whose hand tightened on his shotgun, its secrets woven into their bones. No call for trouble if folks show respect. Live and let live. But recently, the fragile atmosphere had soured. New military detachments, raw volunteer units, had arrived at Fort Union, younger men, eyes harder, postures more aggressive, trigger fingers looser. An unspoken unease settled over Redemption Creek, heavy as a thunderhead. Rumors spoke of retaliatory strikes by ambitious officers, blurring lines between defense and punitive expeditions often based on prejudice or flimsy evidence. Talk grew of a Captain Davies, newly arrived, known for harsh methods and a fervent belief in brutal action to pacify the territory. Likes the sound of his own commands a little too much, Thomas had muttered grimly after hearing a report from a trader who'd witnessed Davies drill his men with chilling severity. Men like that, they seek excuses for war. That afternoon, the uneasy silence wasn't broken. It was violently ripped apart. The first warning wasn't a shout, but a low, guttural drumming vibrating up through the earth floor, intensifying with shocking speed into the unmistakable. Heart-stopping thunder of multiple horses, ridden hard, outside. Jacob's chopping ceased mid-swing, axe suspended like a question mark. An unnatural silence fell, amplifying the rapidly approaching drumming, the heartbeat of doom. Thomas was instantly on his feet, rifle gripped tight, ease evaporating, face hardening into deep lines of profound concern. He moved swiftly to the doorway, peering out cautiously, body coiled like a drawn bowstring. "Martha, get Emily away from the table. Now!" His voice low, urgent. Martha's hum died, strangled by icy fear. Her hand flew to her mouth, then blindly reached for Emily, pulling her close against her skirts, hand trembling almost imperceptibly. "Thomas, what is it? Is it Indians?" she whispered, thin, brittle with dread. "No," Thomas confirmed, voice tight, eyes narrowed, scanning the approaches with terrifying intensity. "Worse, maybe." Soldiers, a lot of them, moving too fast. Different uniforms, not regulars. He squinted, knuckles white on the rifle stock. Volunteers, I think. Gods. They're spreading out, fanning wide, like they mean to surround us. The tactical precision was instantly chilling. The drumming escalated to a deafening roar. Hooves pounded dry earth relentlessly, throwing up plumes of choking dust. Horses erupted into view, fanning out aggressively across open ground, approaching the three cabins from multiple angles, a coordinated, predatory maneuver. Their movements were disciplined, chillingly purposeful. Bluecoats, yes, but faces beneath campaign hats were grim, eyes sweeping the small settlement with cold, predatory assessment. Not a routine patrol, men executing a dark, silent mission. Emily saw the lethal tension in their shoulders, the tight grips on reins and carbines. Inside, both of you, get down! Stay away from the window, Thomas yelled, sharp with command, shoving Jacob roughly back as the first horse, lathered, wild-eyed, slid to a halt yards away, kicking up dirt that spattered the cabin wall. Its rider, a hard-faced man with eyes like chips of ice, was already swinging his carbine clear, levering around into the chamber. The metallic schlick-schlack echoed with terrifying clarity in the pregnant hush before the storm broke. Seconds stretched, each heartbeat hammering against Emily's ribs. Air crackled with unseen menace, the smell of horse sweat and agitated earth sharp, heavy breaths of horses, creaking saddle leather, jingle of harnesses. Low commands passed as they tightened the cordon, positioning themselves with methodical precision, surrounding the cabins like wolves cornering deer. Sunlight glinted cruelly off polished gun barrels. Mr. Miller appeared briefly, shotgun held uncertainly, voice booming. "What's the meaning of this? By God, identify yourselves. We're peaceful folk." His words vanished, unanswered, ignored. Then, the world exploded into splinters, gunpowder, and terror. The cabin door disintegrated inwards, ripped from hinges by a brutal, booted kick. Wood splintered violently. One shard stung Emily's cheek as she scrambled behind the heavy table leg. Framed in the harsh glare stood a soldier, pistol leveled unwaveringly, shadow long and menacing. Behind him, others dismounted rapidly, weapons raised, expressions chillingly devoid of hesitation or mercy. They moved like wraiths, boots thudding, voices barking curt orders. "What in God's name is this madness?" Thomas demanded, voice ringing with outrage and disbelief, raising his rifle defensively, planting himself squarely between intruders and his family. A human shield. "We're peaceful settlers, under the fort's protection. We've done nothing wrong. Identify yourselves." The soldier with the pistol, a sergeant identified by stripes, face dominated by cold eyes and a jagged scar through one eyebrow, didn't waste breath. No warning, no demand, no explanation, just the sudden, ear-splitting crack of the pistol firing within the confined space. Magnified tenfold, reverberating painfully, stealing the air. Time stuttered, crawled, lurched forward. Emily saw her father stagger, stunned disbelief washing over his weathered features, eyes wide with shock and catastrophic comprehension. His hand flew instinctively to his chest. A dark, wet stain blossomed on his cotton shirt, spreading with sickening speed. He crumpled like a felled tree, knees buckling, collapsing heavily onto the floor he had built board by painstaking board. The long rifle clattered beside him, inert, useless. "No, Thomas! Thomas!" Martha screamed, a sound torn from the deepest abyss of her soul, raw, animalistic grief mixed with uncomprehending terror. She lunged forward, not in attack, a desperate reach for her husband, her world imploding. Another shot rang out, sharp but brutally final, cutting through her scream. Martha pitched forward, falling heavily beside Thomas, her lifeblood instantly blossoming, a darker stain spreading. Her hand remained frozen in its desperate reach towards him, fingers outstretched, inches from his still shoulder, a heartbreaking testament to love cut short. Emily witnessed it all from behind the table leg, her mind fractured. One moment, solid anchors; the next, silenced by explosions, reduced to bleeding shapes on the floor, breath hitched, trapped like a stone, silent screams building pressure. Chaos erupted outside, shouting, frantic orders: clear the other cabins, all of them. No witnesses, panicked whinnying of horses. The sharp crack, crack, crack of rifles firing repeatedly, chillingly close. She heard Mr. Miller yell defiantly, "You damn murdering cowards! You'll hang for!" Cut off abruptly by another gunshot, followed by a sickening thud. A woman's piercing shriek tore through the air from Widow Douglas's cabin, choked off with horrifying finality. And then, closer, a desperate, cracking cry, choked with fear. "No, please! I didn't do anything! Don't shoot! Don't!" Jacob, her brother. His voice broke, followed immediately by another single gunshot, its sharp echo hanging heavy, punching a hole right through Emily's own chest. Soldiers moved purposefully through their cabin, boots thudding on the floorboards stained with her parents' life, kicking aside Emily's scattered pebbles, scattering her innocent patterns, not searching, destroying, perhaps cynically creating the illusion of struggle. The crockery shelf was swept clear, earthenware shattering near where her parents lay still. The heavy pine table Emily cowered behind was violently kicked over, sending her scrambling frantically further back, pressing against the rough log wall near the hearth, shielded partially by the wood box Jacob had chopped kindling for that morning. In their grim haste, focused on annihilation, they didn't seem to notice the small, trembling figure hidden in the deep shadows. One soldier kicked viciously at the dying embers, scattering hot ashes near Martha's outstretched hand. Another ripped Martha's treasured 9-patch quilt from the bed, tossing it aside like refuse. The acrid smell of gunpowder became overpowering, burning Emily's nostrils, mingling obscenely with the comforting sense of wood smoke and the rising bread dough. Forgotten, a poignant symbol of life violently interrupted. Why? The question hammered uselessly. Why are they doing this? What did we do? Why kill Mama, Papa, Jacob? This wasn't justice. This wasn't war. This was annihilation. She squeezed her eyes shut, hands clamped over ears. Vibrations through the floor as heavy objects were overturned. A storage chest slammed open. Contents spilled contemptuously. A heavy boot kicked the wood box she hid behind forcefully, jarring her, making her bite her lip, tasting blood, to stifle a gasp. She pressed herself smaller, tighter, praying to the vast sky, praying to be invisible, praying for it to end. The violence, feeling like an eternity, was appallingly swift, brutally efficient. Within minutes that stretched into an agonizing lifetime, the shouting and gunfire outside diminished. Curt orders barked with finality. "All clear here!" Miller's place secured. "Torched." Douglas woman silenced. "Cabins burning. Mount up. Move out. Stick to the plan." Westward, boots thudded towards the broken doorway, retreating, leaving behind utter carnage, silent devastation. Hoofbeats pounded, a chaotic thunder receding westward, leaving a silence so profound it roared in Emily's ears, a deafening vacuum. She remained huddled, trembling uncontrollably, small whimpers escaping. Was it a trick? Would they return? The silence stretched, taut, punctuated only by the hungry crackle of flames from outside the miller's cabin. Perhaps the widow's too, judging by the growing intensity and acrid smell of burning pine mixing nauseatingly with gunpowder and the frantic pounding of her own heart, so loud she feared it could be heard across the desolate clearing. Dust motes danced lazily in sunlight slicing through the shattered doorway, illuminating the horrifying stillness within. Her mother and father lay unnaturally quiet, tragically close, lifeblood pooling, already darkening, soaking irrevocably into the floorboards her father had planed with such pride. Time dissolved. Seconds bled into minutes, minutes into desolate hours. The indifferent sun crawled across the sky, shadows lengthening, transforming familiar shapes into menacing forms. A creeping chill settled deep, born of shock and loss. Thirst finally became unbearable agony, a primal need piercing the fog of terror, moving with infinite, agonizing caution, like a small, wounded animal. Emily crept from hiding, forcing her eyes away from the still forms. Her focus narrowed solely on the wooden water barrel near the hearth, miraculously untouched. Trembling violently, she dipped a tin cup, spilling almost as much as she brought shakily to her cracked lips. She drank greedily, the coolness soothing her throat but not the tremors. As daylight drained, deepening shadows into suffocating gloom, the true, crushing weight of her solitude crashed down, alone, utterly, terrifyingly alone. Her family, neighbors, everyone, gone, erased. She was the only one left. Why her? Missed in their destructive haste? Or was survival a crueler fate? Fear returned with the enveloping darkness. Every nocturnal sound, groaning timbers like footsteps, rustling wind like pursuit, a distant coyote's cry, sent jolts of adrenaline searing through her. She imagined soldiers returning under cold moonlight, methodically searching ruins for overlooked life, finding a discarded woolen shawl smelling faintly of her mother's lavender. She pulled it tightly around her like fragile armor, retreating to the woodbox corner. Sleep was impossible. The horrific loop replayed, door bursting gunshots, father's stunned face, mother's desperate reach, shattering pottery, Jacob's cry, the blood the smell, the silence. Tears flowed, silently, endlessly, soaking the rough wool. Grief was a physical weight crushing her chest, making each breath a painful effort. Dawn arrived not with gentle relief, but cold, gray light revealing the devastation in pitiless detail. Thin smoke curled lazily from the blackened skeletons of the other cabins. No movement, only profound silence broken by the insistent buzzing of flies where death lingered. The metallic, coppery tang of blood hung thick, sickening, inescapable. She couldn't stay. This place, once sanctuary, was now a graveyard haunted by unbearable memories. But where? Fort Union was days away, across unfamiliar, potentially hostile terrain, possibly patrolled by the very men who perpetrated this atrocity. Going back risked encountering them again. Instinct pushed her east, away from their likely path, deeper into the vast, untamed wilderness. Stumbling blindly out into the harsh light, shawl clutched tight. She forced herself not to look back, though she knew the image was seared onto her mind, taking nothing else. Just the torn, stained dress and the shawl. She started walking east, towards the indifferent sun, putting destruction behind her, one small, stumbling step at a time. Her small legs quickly grew weary. Sharp stones bruised her bare feet until they bled, leaving crimson prints on the dust. Thorny mesquite tore her dress, scratched her skin. The sun beat down mercilessly. Thirst returned, throat dry, lips cracking. Hunger twisted her stomach into painful knots. She walked numbly through the long morning and into the brutal afternoon, driven by an animalistic urge to flee. The landscape stretched vast, empty, indifferent, offering no shelter, no comfort. Rolling plains yielded to broken, rugged land cut by dry washes, sparsely dotted with stunted juniper and resilient pinon. Lizards scuttled, hawks circled high, their cries echoing her soul's emptiness. Every shadow threatened, every gust sounded like pursuit. Fear was a constant, cold companion. By late afternoon, exhaustion overwhelmed her. Finding meager shade beneath a solitary gnarled juniper, she collapsed onto the parched earth, curling into a tight ball, shivering despite the baking heat, overwhelmed by despair, dehydration, heat stroke, the profound ache of loss. Would she simply disappear here? She closed her eyes, a single tear tracing grime on her cheek, perhaps not wanting to open them again. A sound, soft but distinct, unexpected, pierced her delirium. A horse's gentle snort, terrifyingly close. Eyes snapped open. Panic surged. Soldiers! They'd found her! She scrambled backward, pressing against the rough bark, holding her breath, heart hammering. A rider emerged slowly from behind sun-bleached boulders, silhouette stark against the turquoise sky. But not right. No military cap, no restrictive blue coat, fringed buckskin leggings, loose tunic, long dark hair held by a woven band. He sat easily astride a sturdy paint pony. Dark eyes scanned the landscape with calm, penetrating intensity that missed nothing. Rifle in scabbard, quiver on his back. He moved with quiet grace, part of the land, a Navajo, a dying warrior. He saw her instantly, gaze sharp as a hawk's, locking onto the small, terrified figure. No overt surprise, merely halted his horse smoothly, expression unreadable, watchful, assessing, not overtly threatening. Yet Emily felt ingrained fear of the unknown, the other, but beneath it, a desperate spark, the human need for help. The warrior dismounted with unhurried grace, hands visible, away from weapons. He observed her tattered state, ripped dress, bleeding feet, tear tracks, the aura of terror. He spoke, low and calm, in the unfamiliar, tonal cadences of the dying language, questioning, perhaps even gentle. Emily shook her head mutely, fresh tears spilling. Soldiers, she choked out, ragged whisper thick with horror, killed them, killed everyone. Control broke, convulsive sobs racked her frame. The warrior's dark eyes absorbed her words, her grief, a flicker, profound understanding. Perhaps cold anger at perpetrators, perhaps deep sorrow, crossed his stoic features. He glanced westward towards the faint smoke smudges staining the horizon, then back at her vulnerability, crouching smoothly, maintaining respectful distance, bringing himself closer to her level, pointing to his chest. Red Hawk, he said clearly, paused, gesturing towards her expectantly. Emily. She stammered through hiccuping sobs. Red Hawk nodded slowly, acknowledging her name, her existence. His eyes seemed to recognize her immense pain without words. Turning briefly, he unfastened a tanned water skin, uncorking it, moving slowly, deliberately. He held it out. The simple gesture, water, life itself, cut through layers of ingrained fear. Driven by agonizing thirst, she crawled forward on scraped knees and took the skin with shaking hands. Drank deeply, gratefully. The water cool and impossibly sweet, life-giving, easing the fire in her throat. The first true act of kindness since her world ended, lowering the water skin, gasping slightly. Red Hawk gently took it back. His observant gaze fell again on her torn dress, scratched legs, Bare, bruised feet, the bone-deep exhaustion. He knew, with innate certainty, she wouldn't survive another night alone. Looked back the way she came, grim understanding in his eyes. Then towards the vast, rugged lands to the east, his territory, the Dinata. Swift, resolute decision, gestured east, pointed to his horse, then back to her, the silent offer. Come with me. I offer sanctuary. Emily hesitated, a fierce war raging within her. Warnings about Indians warred with this man's tangible, quiet, life-saving kindness. Soldiers, her people, brought death. This Navajo warrior, supposed enemy, offered life-compassion, glanced back west, towards the ominous smoke marking the graveyard of her past. Nothing left but ghosts, ashes, unbearable memories. Taking a deep, shaky breath, summoning her father's courage, being afraid and doing what needs doing anyway, she pushed unsteadily to her feet, took a single, tentative, life-altering step towards Red Hawk. He met her halfway, movements fluid, reassuring. With surprising gentleness, he lifted her small weight, settling her securely in front of him on the worn saddle, adjusting her position against the solid warmth of his chest. Mounting smoothly behind her, he gathered the reins. Soft click, gentle nudge, and the pony started forward, not west towards ruins and ghosts, but east, carrying the traumatized child and the quiet warrior deeper into the formidable wilderness, towards an unknown future in the hidden canyons of the Dine. The journey stretched over several days, a surreal passage blurring into sun-baked rock formations, splashed with breathtaking color. Whispering wind through sparse vegetation, and the steady, hypnotic plodding of hooves carrying them ever eastward. Red Hawk moved with unerring, almost mystical direction through landscapes bewildering to Emily. They wound through narrow, twisting canyons, rock walls painted in layered strata of ochre, rose, lavender-violet, crossed wide, arid mesas where wind moaned and heat shimmered, distorting the horizon, followed dry, sandy washes. Red Hawk occasionally dismounting to study the ground, reading invisible signs, a bent twig, disturbed pebble, faint track, sometimes digging patiently for a small, precious seep of murky, life-sustaining water. Emily remained mostly silent, enveloped in a cocoon of shock, grief, exhaustion. Yet, slowly, subtly, the external world began to seep back in. Red Hawk's constant, quiet, unobtrusive presence was a steadying influence, an unexpected anchor. He didn't push her to talk, simply provided for immediate physical needs. Shared meager rations without comment, strips of tough sun-dried meat, nutty pinon seeds gathered patiently, tart berries found clinging to thorny bushes. Eat, he would murmur sometimes, voice low, pressing nuts into her palm. Need strength, long way yet. He occasionally pointed things out, breaking silence with soft, single words in his language, naming the world. A circling hawk, ATSA, coyote track, MAII, desert marigolds blooming defiantly yellow, CHIL Witsui, spoke Navajo words softly, patiently, offering them like small gifts, seeds of a new world, a new language. At night, he found sheltered spots, beneath sandstone, overhangs, within dense juniper thickets, built small, efficient fires, producing little smoke, flickering warmth of defense against the high desert chill, shared simple meals in silence, then sat quietly, relaxed yet alert, watching flames or gazing into the darkness, senses attuned. Emily huddled nearby, wrapped in the shawl, still carrying her mother's faint lavender scent. eventually succumbing to exhausted, dream-haunted sleep, feeling, for the first time since the attack, a fragile, tentative sense of safety under his silent, watchful presence. He never seemed to sleep deeply, always aware, a vigilant guardian. One afternoon, a sudden, violent thunderstorm ambushed them, rolling in like an invading army, darkening the sky with bruised clouds. Jagged lightning cracked, illuminating the stark landscape, followed instantly by deafening thunder shaking the ground. Rain fell in blinding sheets, turning dry washes into dangerous torrents. Red Hawk acted swiftly, guiding the nervous horse under a deep rock overhang, pulling Emily close, shielding her with his own back, spoke calmly, reassuringly in Navajo, a low murmur against the storm's roar. Emily, initially terrified by the raw violence, a painful reminder of human violence, found herself strangely calmed by his utter steadiness, his lack of fear. He accepted the storm as intrinsic, weathering its fury with quiet resilience. When it passed as quickly as it arrived, leaving air washed clean, smelling of ozone and damp earth, desert glistening, he pointed east. A brilliant double rainbow arched against retreating clouds, not sealed. A small, involuntary gasp of pure wonder escaped Emily's lips, the first sound unrelated to fear, sorrow, or need she had made in days. Red Hawk heard it. She thought she saw a distinct softening, a fleeting warmth in his dark, observant eyes, slowly, cautiously, like a damaged seedling reaching tentatively towards sun after frost. Emily began responding more overtly. Started repeating Navajo words, voice hesitant, then gaining confidence. Two for water, Chian for food, ahi, she whispered once, mimicking gratitude. Realizing the English thank you felt inadequate, belonging to a lost world, he simply inclined his head, understanding intent. He taught practical things, grounding her in survival, pulling focus from paralyzing grief, how to use a digging stick for edible roots, recognizing signs of nearby water, specific plants, bird flight patterns, how to stay still when a large Gila monster lumbered past, its beaded skin flashing black and orange. Watch, he'd say quietly. Learn the land. She teaches survival to those who listen with respect. These focused lessons served as crucial distractions, grounding her in the present, the demands of staying alive, trust built slowly, fragile as a chrysalis, nurtured by shared silence, consistent care, and the fact this stranger, this supposed enemy, was diligently keeping her alive. Late on the fourth day, as the setting sun bled spectacular fiery hues across the western horizon, they crested a high mesa rim. Red Hawk stopped the horse. Below, nestled protectively in a wide, surprisingly verdant canyon carved by a meandering stream, lay a sight that made Emily catch her breath. Not vulnerable cabins lined up like targets. Instead, a scattered, organic collection of sturdy, round dwellings, hogans, earthen walls, and domed roofs, blending almost seamlessly with red rock and green juniper. Thin smoke rose peacefully from central smoke holes. Sheep and goats grazed contentedly on the lush canyon floor, their gentle bleating carrying faintly. Joyful sounds of children's voices echoed upwards. Several watchful dogs, alerted by their appearance, began barking insistently, challenges echoing off canyon walls. Kinta, Red Hawk's home, the end of their journey. A sudden, cold wave of profound apprehension washed over Emily, his people. Strangers. Their ways, not her ways. Language incomprehensible. After the brutality from her own kind, could she trust these strangers? Would they see her as an outsider, Enemy. Belagana. One of the whites encroaching on their lands. Would they blame her for soldiers' actions? Her brief, fragile sense of security evaporated, replaced by familiar, gnawing fear tightening its icy grip. She clutched the wool shawl tighter, its familiar scent a flimsy shield. Red Hawk sensed her tension, remained still, allowing her time. Then spoke.low.com, deeply reassuring beside her ear, pointed down towards the Hogans, grazing sheep. Signs of life. Kinta, home, village, looked down at her small, pale face, expression serious but kind. Hasuji, he added, a word spoken with quiet, deliberate emphasis, towards beauty, harmony. Balance. Safety. Repeated the English word he knew she understood, pronunciation careful. Safe. You are safe here, Emily. He gently nudged the horse forward, beginning the careful descent down the narrow, steep trail into the canyon. As they drew closer, people emerged cautiously, drawn by barking dogs, faces initially curious, eyes widening slightly, registering surprise, confusion, perhaps suspicion, focusing on the small, pale, utterly disheveled child seated before him, clinging tightly, wide blue eyes filled with palpable apprehension. No immediate hostility, but a palpable sense of questioning. Watchful waiting. Assessment. Hung heavy. An elderly woman emerged slowly from the largest hogan near the stream, doorway facing east, posture remarkably erect despite age, long silver-streaked hair neatly tied back, face a beautiful, intricate tapestry of wrinkles etched by decades of sun. Wind, wisdom, resilience, sorrow. Turquoise and heavy silver adorned her, gleaming softly, moved with quiet, innate authority. Others gathering nearby fell silent. She stopped near Red Hawk just as he dismounted smoothly, her gaze sharp, intelligent, assessing, but not unkind. Swept over Emily quickly, comprehensively, torn clothes, bare, bruised feet, palpable exhaustion, deep, lingering fear haunting the child's eyes like ghosts. Red Hawk gently lifted Emily down, steadying hand on her shoulder as her legs trembled. Began speaking rapidly to the elderly woman in Navajo, voice low, urgent, yet respectful. Emily heard the story unfold in his cadence, gestures, discovery, signs of brutal devastation westward, implicit danger, difficult decision to bring an outsider here. Spoke for some time, gesturing back the way they came. The woman, Hania, listened intently, expression growing grave, dark eyes softening with visible pity and profound concern as they rested on the small, trembling figure. Others gathered, listening in somber silence, faces reflecting complex sorrow, palpable anger not at Emily, but at unseen perpetrators, deep concern. Murmurs rippled, Vilagana soldiers, so close to Kinta, the little one, all alone, Hoxo. When Red Hawk fell silent, Hania stepped forward purposefully, knelt slowly, deliberately bringing her face level with Emily's. Eyes dark, profound, seeming to hold generations of wisdom, looked directly into Emily's soul, acknowledging immense pain, terror, loss without words. Didn't try to touch immediately, respecting, fear, distrust. Spoke, voice softer, Navajo words flowing like a gentle stream, though language foreign, the message of welcome. Sympathy. Reassurance was unmistakable through tone, expression. Presence, an aura of profound compassion. Smiled then, genuine. Warm. Embracing. Crinkling eye corners, easing suffocating tightness in Emily's chest, pointed gracefully to herself. Shimasani, she said softly. Clearly, my grandmother. Not blood relation, but immediate, unconditional embrace, offering kinship, claiming, promise of shelter. Hania gently, tentatively reached out, took Emily's small, cold, trembling hand. Touch surprisingly warm, dry, strong, anchoring. Squeezed lightly, universal comfort and connection bypassing language. Rose slowly, began leading Emily towards her own hogan facing east. Red Hawk followed closely with two other women, faces reflecting gentle sympathy. Crowd parted silently, respectfully. Inside, the hogan was unexpectedly spacious, circular. Domed roof of timber beams converging towards a central smoke hole. Thick earthen walls insulating. Air cooled despite outside heat. Smelled earthy. Clean, laced with pleasant juniper smoke from a small fire glowing in the central pit. Beautifully woven blankets and intricate geometric patterns hung on curved walls, deep vegetal reds, stark blacks, brilliant whites, soft grays, vibrant against muted earth and wood tones. Space felt ancient, secure, profoundly peaceful. Sanctuary rooted deep in the land, embodying belonging. Hania guided Emily towards soft, clean sheepskins near the fire, indicating she should sit. Another woman returned with a wooden bowl of steaming, fragrant stew, tender mutton, sweet corn, soft squash, fragrant wild herbs. Emily hesitated only a moment before gnawing emptiness took over. Ate slowly, cautiously, then with increasing urgency as warmth spread. Simple, nourishing food warming her, pushing back cold dread. Good, Hania murmured, watching with quiet satisfaction, eyes kind. Eat, fill the emptiness. You are safe now, Owie. Child, later. Hania examined Emily's scratches with gentle, knowing fingers. Cleaned them carefully with warm water infused with potent herbs, applied thick, greenish salve from a clay pot. Smelled pungent, strongly of pinon sap and crushed leaves, but felt cool, intensely soothing. Worked in companionable silence, movements deft practiced, occasionally murmuring soft Navajo words like ancient lullabies, calming sounds washing over frayed nerves. Afterward, gave Emily a simple woven cotton dress, softer, cleaner, smelling faintly of sunshine and sage. As complete darkness fell, blanketing the canyon in profound silence broken only by a distant owl's cry, Hania gestured towards the inviting sheepskins, utterly spent, emotionally, mentally, physically drained. Emily curled up gratefully, comforting warmth from the fire, reassuring presence of Hania nearby, profound feeling of being enclosed, protected within solid, embracing earthen walls. It was enough. For the first time since soldiers burst through her door, sleep claimed her quickly, pulling her down into deep, dark, blessedly dreamless oblivion. Temporary respite. Days unfolded with the quiet, steady, ancient rhythm of canyon life. Woke each morning to gentle sounds, sheep bleating, low Navajo conversations drifting between hogans, sharp barking of watchful dogs. Remained withdrawn initially, small, silent shadow observing unfamiliar routines. Trauma, a heavy shroud. Manifested most strongly at night. Violent nightmares ripped her from sleep, trembling, gasping, sometimes crying out horrific images, guns firing, blood spreading. Parents falling. Jacob's final cry, vivid, terrifyingly real. Each time, Hania was there almost instantly, materializing silently, hand firm. Comforting. Murmuring soothingly in Navajo, low, rhythmic, like a sacred chant. Sheech, Awi, Shei. At seas, Du Nuzil da. Just a dream. The shadow passes. You are safe. Ho surrounds you now. Breathe, child, breathe, until panic subsided, until ragged breathing evened, until she drifted back into uneasy sleep, anchored by the old woman's unwavering, deep compassion. Hania never showed impatience, only offered a deep, seemingly inexhaustible well of patient understanding. Red Hawk visited Hania's Hogan daily, usually in cooler hours, checked on Emily quietly, dark eyes assessing her state, exchanging low words with Hania about progress or needs. Is she eating well? Shimasani, sleep better now. Often brought small, thoughtful offerings, smooth sun, warm stone, vibrant blue jay feather, tan pouch of freshly roasted peanut nuts, warm, fragrant. Continued patiently teaching words, pointing, naming clearly. Hogan home, Gizil mountain. Shah sun, Tui hona a moon. Dibe sheep. Tweezy goat. Emily began latching onto the language eagerly, finding unexpected solace, necessary distraction. Focusing intently on new sounds helped keep terrifying memories momentarily at bay, if only for brief intervals, became a lifeline, fragile thread connecting her tentatively to this new, profoundly different reality, building a new world from ashes. Community children were intensely curious about the Bilagana Ashki, white girl. Watched cautiously at first, whispering, giggling nervously. Look at her hair, like corn silk. Why are her eyes like the sky after rain? Emily, still intensely shy, wounded, haunted, aware of otherness, avoided direct gaze, retreating further. But children possess innate resilience, uncomplicated acceptance. One bright afternoon, as Emily sat listlessly outside, tracing patterns in dust, a girl her age, Yashi, with bright obsidian eyes and black braids adorned with red yarn, approached cautiously, held out a small, slightly lopsided, lovingly carved wooden sheep, smiled, shy, tentative offering. Yashi, she said softly, pointing to herself. Little one, pointed at carving. Dibe, sheep. Then, haltingly, for you. Emily looked up, hesitantly. After intense internal struggle between fear and aching loneliness, reached out, took the small sheep. Surface slightly rough, warm from the girl's hand, tangible connection. Emily. She whispered, name sounding foreign, rusty. Yaji beamed, promptly sat cross-legged opposite, took string from pocket, began demonstrating complex string games, nimble fingers moving deftly, creating intricate patterns. Cat's cradle, star, Hogan, chattering softly, encouragingly in Navajo, unconcerned by language barrier. Soon, drawn irresistibly by universal invitation of play, other children drifted closer. Though language a barrier initially, laughter, gestures, smiles, occasional gentle tussle, universal absorption in games began weaving first fragile threads of connection. Slowly, hesitantly, Emily began joining in, initial reserve thawing under warmth of uncomplicated, matter-of-fact acceptance. Didn't care hair was blonde, eyes blue. She was simply another child to play tag with, teach games, share secrets under vast sky. Life in Kinta unfolded by ancient rhythms, sun, moon, seasons, livestock needs, profound spiritual connection to land, Dainita, sacred homeland bounded by 4 sacred mountains. Emily began participating, tentatively mimicking, then with growing confidence, in daily tasks alongside Hania. Yaji, others, helped grind corn on a rough metate, rhythmic motion soothing, meditative, learned to card raw wool, patiently combing out burrs, preparing fibers for spinning, accompanied Hania gathering plants in foothills, eyes learning to identify rabbit brush yellow dye, snakeweed medicinal poultices, Mormon tea restorative drink. Listen to the plants, all we, Hania instructed softly. They tell secrets if you approach with respect. Helped herd sheep and goats, legs growing stronger, scrambling over rocky terrain, learning calls and whistles to guide animals back to corrals, protecting them from predators. Hania, recognizing need for focus, creation, healing, began patiently teaching her to weave, setting up small loom outside, showed intricate process, stringing strong warp threads, passing weft shuttle, tamping each line firmly with carved comb. Emily's first attempts clumsy, uneven. Patience, little one. Hania encouraged gently, fingers expertly correcting. Weaving teaches patience, focus, balance, concentrating fiercely on vibrant colors, rich reds from traded cochineal, deep indigo blues, natural wool blacks, whites, grays, watching patterns emerge slowly. Line by painstaking line, she found measure of profound, unexpected peace. Rhythmic work occupied hands and mind, less room for intrusive memories ambushing in idle moments or night. Learned deeper significance of traditional patterns, Hania wove. Stylized mountains, DZ'd rain, clouds goses pointing at Seniltish sacred geometry, reflecting complex Navajo universe. Weaving wasn't just craft, it was active prayer, creating beauty, order, balance, ho, weaving oneself back into sacred fabric of life after chaos and loss. Learned deep dine respect for natural world, woven into daily existence. Language. Ceremonies. Water 2. Precious desert lifeblood, sacred. Used carefully. Conserved. Honored. Animals treated with reverence, spirits acknowledged, even those hunted, prayers of gratitude offered. Evening stories around fire, often by Hania or elders, spoke of Dine, a holy people. Changing woman. Complex emergent stories detailing sacred origins, solemn covenant with this land, worldview vastly different from Redemption Creek, emphasizing interconnectedness, harmony. Reciprocity, respect for all living things, resonated deeply within bruised, searching spirit, stark contrast to senseless, destructive violence born of greed, fear, disregard. Grief remained, deep undercurrent, ache never fully disappearing, wound scarring but never vanishing, unexpected triggers, pine smoke scent like father cleaning rifle, cool damp earth like creek bank, where she and Jacob played, conjured vivid, painful memories. Hania kneading dough brought pang of longing for mother's humming, embrace. Watching Yaji roughhouse with brother made her ache for Jacob, his energy, protective streak, silly squabbles. Tears came silently, uncontrollably. Hania never stopped them, never offered empty platitudes, offered silent presence, steadying hand, allowing grief waves to flow without judgment, seemed to understand healing wasn't forgetting, erasing past, but learning slowly to carry loss without being consumed. Tears wash the path clean, all we, she said once quietly, full of empathy. They make the spirit strong, let them flow. Witnessed firsthand community anxieties. News traveled through canyon networks via runners, relatives, traders, increasing army patrols venturing deeper. Settlers pushing further into hunting grounds, claiming scarce water, resources growing scarcer. Saw worry etched on men's faces gathering after sunset. More bluecoats near Black Mesa. Heard hushed conversations among women working. Enough grazing next season if settlers fence Upper Valley. saw Red Hawk. Other warriors ride out frequently, armed, vigilant, faces grim, scouting, returning often with troubling reports. Deep-seated, justifiable distrust of Bilagana, palpable, understandable, born of broken treaties, forced displacements, violence, traumatic long walk wieldy memory still raw. Emily, living amongst them, sharing lives, fears, began understanding their perspective, seeing world through their eyes. Yet, despite painful history, despite her being one they had reason to fear, they, Hania, Red Hawk, Yaji, community, treated her, orphaned enemy child, with unwavering kindness, consistent compassion, remarkable acceptance. Hania cared with fierce devotion. Red Hawk watched with quiet vigilance. Yashi. Children embraced her as friend, taught games, shared secrets, included her without reservation. Profound, complex paradox, capacity for cruelty alongside potential for immense kindness. Often within same groups, defined by circumstance, history, individual choice, settled deep within her consciousness, challenged simple black and white divisions, forced her to confront messy, contradictory nature of humanity. One cool evening, first stars pricking twilight sky, Emily sat with Hania beside glowing embers. Hania spun wool, hands moving with mesmerizing ease. Emily practiced Navajo, piecing together longer sentences. Shimasani, she began hesitantly, finding courage in darkness. The soldiers, the Bilagana soldiers, they brought Chawi darkness to my home. Paused, question burning silently for months. Taa Shudi, why? Why did they hate us so much? We did nothing. Hania paused, spinning, hands falling still, gazed into fire, contemplative, before turning wise eyes to Emily, expression filled with profound sadness, tempered with understanding. Ayuoni, she said softly, little beloved one, fear, my child. Fear is the poisoned root growing in darkness. Fear breeds misunderstanding. Like weeds choke corn, misunderstanding festers, breeds hatred like sickness, and hatred summons the shadow, the violence, the Haxo. Sighed softly. Some Bilagana fear us because we are different, our ways not their ways, skin not their color. They want this land, Dineta, all of it. They do not understand Hozo, sacred balance connecting us to earth, sky, holy people, all living things. They look, but do not truly see. See only rocks and dirt to own, conquer, exploit, not living spirit of earth. Sa Nagai Bike Hozun, holy people's home. Look deeply into Emily's eyes, kind but serious, and continued softly but firmly, acknowledging other side. Some dying fear the Bilagana, with good reason, terrible sicknesses, soldiers who kill without reason, endless lies around treaty fires never honored, broken promises like dust, relentless theft of land, water, raw memory of long walk driving us from homes like animals to starve at wieldy, picked up spindle, resumed rhythmic spinning, manifestation of continuity, resilience. The path to Hozo, beauty. Balance, is narrow. Yashi, like walking slick rock ledge in freezing rain, requires constant attention, deep respect. Right action, thinking of others, future generations. Fear. Strong wind. Pushes us off, plunges us into darkness. Haxo, ugliness. Chaos, where senseless violence lives. Emily absorbed Hania's words, simple yet profound wisdom settling into her core like water into dry earth. illuminating her experience with painful but necessary light. Soldiers acted from fear, ignorance, hatred, cruel orders by men like Davies driven by greed, ambition, prejudice, Red Hawk, Hania. Community faced own fears, historical trauma, yet chose different path finding her, responded with compassion, kindness, life-affirming Hozo. Despite reasons to turn away or seek retribution, seasons turned, melting seamlessly. Searing summer heat yielded to crisp, pinon-scented autumn, then cold, stark winter snows. Finally, glorious spring wildflowers painting slopes yellow-blue-red. Emily grew, physically, spiritually, blonde hair darkened by sun, often tied back Navajo style with yarn ties Yaji made. Blue eyes held growing calmness, quiet depth, forever shadowed by loss. Spoke Navajo fluently, Dine Bizad flowing naturally. English fading slightly, but preserved. Do not forget tongue of birth. Child may serve peace someday, Hania advised. 2 languages, 2 worlds, Hania said wisely. Perhaps that, little beloved one, is your path, your purpose. Stand between them, like rainbow connects earth and sky. Emily moved with easy grace, comfortable, skilled in daily tasks, tracked rabbits, helped deliver lambs, wove simple patterns, understood kinship network binding Dine, laughed easily with Yaji, shared secrets under vast starry sky, felt warmth of belonging, woven securely into resilient community fabric, yet never forgot, couldn't, wouldn't. Carried memory of parents, Jacob, neighbors, Redemption Creek like smooth, heavy stone in her soul. No longer constant, paralyzing pain, but quiet, persistent ache, poignant reminder of loss, powerful catalyst shaping her. Living within Dine world, saw with painful clarity prejudice. Fear, misunderstanding flowing violently both directions. Lived devastating consequences of that deep divide. One warm summer evening, during social dance gathering, Elder Hostine Ioi told stories of Coyote, trickster bringing chaos but also unexpected gifts, lessons, somberly, of Wieldy, long walk exile, immense suffering, death, fiercely, of tenacious return, guided by faith, back to Danita, only place for balance. Hazo. Emily listened intently, absorbing weight of history, resilience, unbreakable spiritual connection to land, saw own tragedy reflected, magnified, contextualized in larger narrative of survival against injustice, erasure. After storytelling, rhythmic drumming and singing began, pulsing like strong heart. Emily slipped away quietly from flickering firelight, seeking solitude at canyon rim under vast, star-dusted sky. Red Hawk, ever watchful, noticed, followed respectfully, understanding need for reflection, ensuring safety. Emily sat on familiar sandstone ledge overlooking moonlit canyon, Hogan's glowing like embers below. Grief felt sharp tonight, raw, yet strangely mingled with profound gratitude for life given here. Sanctuary found among supposed enemies, understood now, with painful, liberating clarity, truth of Hania's words. Fear was the root. Hoxo. Fear of difference. Loss. Unknown. Losing control. Drove soldiers, ordinary men transformed, perhaps by Davies blinded by resentment, to horrific brutality, fueled ongoing conflict, cycle of violence threatening territory. But fear didn't have to win. Hajho, beauty. Balance. Harmony. Understanding. Compassion, not passive states, but active choices, difficult paths deliberately cultivated, even facing hatred. Violence. Loss. Her survival, rescue. Acceptance, couldn't be meaningless chance. Felt like sacred charge, vital responsibility. Heart, once shattered, held fierce, quiet, burgeoning resolve, tempered by grief, nurtured by compassion. Would honor lost family, not by seeking vengeance, mirroring killers' actions, but dedicating life somehow to bridging vast, dangerous chasm. Voice for understanding, living testament peace possible, shared humanity stronger than fear. How? Didn't know. Still young woman, caught between worlds locked in conflict, but determination solid, real, guiding star emerging, turned as Red Hawk approached silently beside her, following her gaze over Sleeping Canyon. Didn't speak, respecting silence. Quiet presence, profound comfort, silent validation. Shimasani says, I have two languages, two worlds. Emily said softly in fluent Navajo. She says, perhaps that is my path, to walk between them, help them see each other, maybe, stop the killing. Red Hawk looked down, moonlight catching strong planes of his face, expression serious, thoughtful, deep understanding, long moments silence, absorbing her words, nodded slowly, gravely. The path of the peacemaker, one who walks between worlds, he said, voice low, resonant, carrying wisdom, is not easy. Yashi Emily walks between fires, always. Danger both sides, misunderstanding both sides. Sometimes, great loneliness walks there too. Paused, gaze meeting hers intensely. But Ho walks there too. True balance found there, sacred path, needed path. Though few dare choose it, placed hand briefly, firmly on her shoulder. Rare, powerful gesture. You carry strength of your ancestors now, Emily. Be Lagana and dine. Resilience flows within you. Heart tested by fire, found strong. Use it wisely. Walk in beauty, always. Just as fragile hope bloomed, chilling news arrived via Scout Dark Water, haggard from near Fort Union. Increased military activity, large columns moving out, and the name freezing Emily's blood, Captain Davies. The ruthless officer whispered about before the attack. Dark Water confirmed overhearing boastful soldiers. Davies led the successful punitive expedition at Redemption Creek, claiming it housed sympathizers colluding with hostiles, a fabricated lie. Rage, cold and consuming, surged through Emily, threatening the fragile Hozo within. The desire for vengeance was a visceral sickness, warring violently with Hania's teachings. Red Hawk's restraint, principles of balance. She sought Hania, hands clenched, trembling. He killed them. Shimasani, she choked out, grief and fresh, burning anger raw, hot tears blurring vision. He did it himself, stood there. Why? Why such cruelty? The specific motive remained elusive, shrouded in Davies' official lies, making the senselessness even more unbearable. Hania listened, wise eyes sorrowful. Vengeance, little beloved one, she said softly but firmly, is a fire consuming the one who wields it. Solves nothing, only perpetuates cycle of pain, of Hoxo. Davies walks in deep shadow. Do not let it fall upon your spirit, staining the beauty cultivated here. Seeking justice is right. Seeking revenge leads only more sorrow. Remember Hozo. Remember balance. Even when heart screams for retribution, hold on to the light. The ultimate test arrived weeks later. Frantic alarm, children, including Yaji, gathering prickly pear fruit further up canyon, stumbled upon heavily armed military patrol led by Captain Davies. Deeper penetration than ever. Deliberate provocation. Panic. Yaji fell. Separated. Brutally captured, leverage, bargaining chip. Davies sat astride his horse near narrow canyon mouth, holding terrified, sobbing Yaji roughly, hands bound, grim-faced soldier gripping her arm, shouted demands towards quickly gathered Navajo warriors. Red Hawk at forefront. 20 resolute warriors face soldiers' superior firepower in the tight canyon mouth. A deadly bottleneck. Arrows nocked, rifles primed, air vibrating. Gun barrels gleamed menacingly in the sun. Escape for either side looked bloody. Bloodshed seemed terrifyingly inevitable, seconds ticking down. Emily watched from behind boulders, heart pounding. Hania's words echoed. Father's words on courage. Doing what needs doing. Praying desperately. Emily stepped out from cover, ignoring Hania's sharp plea. Awi, no walking slowly into the open. Sun-baked space between tense lines. Hands out, palms open. Empty. Spoke, voice clear, surprisingly strong, in English, syllables carrying across deadly silence. Captain Davies! Davies startled. Pistol aimed towards Navajo line, lowering slightly. Frowning confusion at blonde woman emerging from Navajo side in dine dress. Who in blazes are you? He demanded gruffly. Captive turned savage. Speak! My name is Emily, she stated, planting feet, meeting cruel gaze. I lived at Redemption Creek. Name hung heavy. Davies flinched. Recognition, or guilt, flickering before hardening. He remembered. You led the attack. Davies tightened. That settlement harbored hostiles, spat contemptuously. Necessary military action under orders. Regrettable, but necessary. Step aside. Official army business. Doesn't concern me. Emily's voice rose, trembling with controlled fury. You call murdering sleeping families necessary. Shooting my mother order. A lie. Captain. A coward's excuse. Saw him recoil. Soldiers exchange uneasy glances. I was there, hiding. I saw your face in the doorway. Watched while they shot my father. My mother, voice cracked, pushed on relentlessly. You murdered them, pointed shaking finger at terrified Yaji, held by nervous soldier avoiding Emily's gaze. Just like you terrorized this child, out of fear, hatred, because men like you thrive on conflict. Saw doubt flicker in younger soldiers' eyes. Rumors circulated, switched fluidly to Navajo, voice urgent, addressing Red Hawk. Duda, hold arrows. Do not give him battle he craves. Show him our strength is Hazo. Saw Red Hawk nod imperceptibly, understanding. Back to English, turning full fury onto Davies. Small frame radiating fierce authority. Let the girl go. No renegades here. Only families surviving terror your soldiers bring. Killing more won't bring peace. Won't erase Redemption Creek. Only adds another stain. Is this your legacy? Butcher of children. Coward hiding murder behind a uniform. Her words, presence, fluent shift. Raw conviction created stunned, electric silence. Shattered his narrative. Hinted at hidden truth. Challenged authority not with weapons, but devastating truth. Couldn't simply shoot this white girl who knew too much. Accused so boldly. Publicly. Situation suddenly complex. Politically dangerous. Career. Freedom at stake. Davies' face contorted. Rage warring with cold calculation. Open mouth. Order fire. Bluff. Before he spoke, Emily sprung the trap, playing the hidden card she hadn't yet revealed, hoping the accusation alone was enough, saving the proof as the final, desperate measure. Why, Captain? She pressed, voice dropping slightly but losing none of its intensity, piercing the tension. Why Redemption Creek? Why those people? Why my father? Tell them. Tell your men the real reason you destroyed our lives. The direct challenge, demanding motive, not just action, hung there. But just as Davies opened his mouth to snarl another denial or order, a commotion arose further back in his own lines. The scarred sergeant, who had been conferring urgently with another older trooper, pushed forward slightly. He wasn't looking at Emily, but directly at Davies, his face grim. "Captain," the sergeant said, voice low but carrying, overriding Davies. "Before this goes further, maybe you should know. Darkwater, the Navajo scout, he wasn't just scouting. He was at the fort weeks ago, found something, showed it around discreetly. To me, to others." He paused, letting the weight land. Davies went rigid. A scorched paper from the Redemption Creek burn site near Thomas's cabin. This was the twist Emily didn't know about. A convergence of truth from unexpected quarters. Hania gasped softly behind her. The sergeant continued, relentless now, emboldened by the truth he held. "Had your handwriting on it, Captain. Clear as day. Notes about the squatter. About this's land. About needing your removal. Confirms what the girl says. It wasn't military orders, sir. It was personal. It was murder for land." He gestured around the tense canyon. "These men," his voice hardened, "ain't dying today for that." The revelation, corroborated by one of his own sergeants, backed by physical proof circulating amongst his men, was the final, devastating blow. It vaporized Davies's authority instantly. Several troopers visibly lowered weapons further, looking at Davies with open contempt. He was utterly exposed, his deepest shame laid bare, not just by the survivor, but by his own men. Davies was trapped, face mask of disbelief, impotent fury, shot sergeant look of pure venom, saw only grim resolve mirrored in others, glared at Emily, hatred promising future retribution if he survived this, but pragmatic enough, cowardly enough, to see immediate danger, catastrophic loss of control, potential ruin. Snarled curse ripped air, spat viciously near Emily's feet. "Release the damned girl," barked, voice tight with suppressed fury. To men, forcing words through gritted teeth, "Mount up. Pulling back. Move out. Now." Soldier shoved Yaji forward, scrambled up, sobbing, ran to Red Hawk, who scooped her protectively. Dark eyes locked on Davies' retreating form with cold intensity. Davies didn't look back, wheeling horse sharply, kicking dust, spurred it hard, leading subdued, shaken patrol away in ignominious moral defeat. Emily stood shaking uncontrollably, relief washing over her in dizzying waves, legs threatening buckle. Hania rushed forward, enveloping her in fierce, trembling hug, murmuring praises, tears of relief streaming. "Ayu Oni, brave heart. Hazo Nahazli, beauty is restored." Red Hawk approached. Yashi, clinging safely, looked down at Emily. Profound respect, undisguised astonishment breaking his stoicism. "You walk between the fires. Yashi Emily," he said softly, admiration deep, with courage few warriors possess. "You faced the deepest shadow, armed with truth, and chose Hozo." Months later, word filtered back through trusted Navajo channels and the occasional wary trader visiting the canyons near Quinta. Captain Davies, recalled to Fort Union shortly after the canyon incident, had faced a formal inquiry, then a full court-martial. The scarred sergeant, risking his own career, had testified unflinchingly, presenting the scorched map fragment he'd kept safe after Darkwater showed it to him. Several other troopers corroborated the events in the canyon, the captain's fury, his clear personal vendetta, and the chilling implications of the paper. Even without Emily needing to travel to the fort, a journey fraught with peril, The soldiers' own testimonies and the tangible evidence were damning. Stripped of rank and command, publicly disgraced, Davies was sentenced to military prison. Justice. Honey observed quietly to Emily, watching her weave a pattern signifying balance on her loom, had indeed found its own path, distinct from the destructive cycle of revenge, brought about by truth spoken aloud, even by those once complicit. Emily looked out at the vast, silent land stretching before them, quiet again under the peaceful afternoon sun. The immediate danger passed, though the scars of distrust remained across the territory. Her heart felt like a bruised bird finally allowed rest, filled with a complex, bittersweet mix of enduring sorrow for all irrevocably lost and fragile, burgeoning hope for bridges yet to be forged. The journey from horror to sanctuary, connection, purpose had been longer, harder, more transformative than imagined. The scars remained, etched deep, visible perhaps only to those who knew, always would be. Davies was imprisoned, but the fear and prejudice he represented still walked the land. The path ahead remained uncertain, perilous, walking between two distrustful worlds. But scars were woven into a larger, richer, more resilient tapestry: survival, unexpected connection, quiet power of compassion, courage to confront fear with unsettling truth, enduring power of human spirit to find light, build bridges, nurture Hozo, even in deepest shadow, resolve, tested by fire, proven strong, was firm, found her voice, precarious, necessary place between worlds, would continue learn, grow stronger, walk in beauty, carrying lessons, love, resilience of both peoples, striving always against odds. Be that bridge, small but determined beacon of understanding and fragile, hard-won peace in a fractured, wounded, beautiful land.